The House Ethics Committee now investigating sexual misconduct in Congress. This comes after the resignations of California Democratic Representative Eric Swalwell and Texas Republican Rep Tony Gonzalez. A driving force in these resignations calling out these allegations. Joining me now, Florida Congresswoman Paulina Luna. Anna, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you wrote an op-ed this past week calling for an overhaul in Congress for this type of behavior, but also pointing out the lack of accountability. In your article, you say, ask almost any staffer on Capitol Hill, and they will tell you which offices to avoid, which members have a reputation, and which situations are quietly tolerated. Rumors are not just whispered behind closed doors. They're broadcast to virtually anyone dialed in on the right frequency. So, Congresswoman, it seems like a lot of this behavior wasn't really a secret, and you're clearly calling for change, but what does that actually look like?
Look, we need to have a zero tolerance acceptance of what's happening currently with sexual harassment, not just of staff, but I think also to potentially other members of Congress. In addition to that, though, I think one of the biggest problems that we have right now is that House ethics is supposed to be the functioning arm that checks and ensures that there's accountability in Congress. And ever since I have been there, this committee instead has become a perverted form of where both parties in power will send things to die, whether it is, the Congressional slush fund vote, which I voted for the release for, but as you saw, 3/4 of Congress voted to block that, or where they will prolong investigations simply because they are counting numbers. Look, I knew when I basically did the motion to expel Eric Swalwell that it would ignite many members of Congress potentially being expelled as well, and I'm okay with that because when I'm up there working on behalf of my residents in Pinellas County, when I'm fighting to really help save this country and you have these people conducting themselves in this fashion, not only does it bring dishonor on the institution, but it is unacceptable. And so I think that there potentially could be more resignations in the future. We'll see. But as of right now, I refuse to serve with these people. I will highlight it to the American people, and I will hold our Congress accountable and ensure that they do the right thing.
You also called out speculation around Arizona Senator Ruben Gallego, who's also a very close friend of Eric Swalwell's. I mean, the two took family vacations together, yet Gallego says he was shocked to learn of Swalwell's behavior. You posted on X that 4 women have alleged inappropriate conduct by Gallego, and that's been brought to you. We know that Gallego also met with that Senate Ethics Committee. I mean, what do you make of this?
Look, completely inappropriate how he has conducted himself. These are no longer, just rumors. I actually had also posted a former staffer. Okay, now she's the NRSC communications director who publicly came out and stated that Gallego, in, I guess, our confrontation that had occurred with another Republican member of Congress, had taken his earwax and smeared it on this woman, touched her shoulder and her chest area, and yet that went unaddressed. You cannot do that to staff, okay? And this is one of many things. He's gone out there, he's publicly, gone out there partying on congressional delegations, asking other staffers from the embassy to go along with him. And I also have been told of a reporter who is who actually has text messages currently of him being very sexually explicit and inappropriate. And so I'm hoping that that reporter does come forward. But yes, people like this on Capitol Hill do not deserve to serve there. And so I hope that Senate ethics does the right thing. But as you're seeing, the Senate seems to be incapable of a lot these days.
Wow. So, I mean, you're calling for a rehaul, not just of Congress, but this House Ethics Committee, correct?
Correct. I want a complete overhaul. We can get into the specifics, but, the Congressional slush fund is incredibly important to be released. What's been interesting is after, again, 3/4 of Congress voted to block it, ethics released, I think, maybe a couple of days ago, 26 members, I think it was, that were investigated for sexual misconduct. But even just today, there was a reporter named Julie Grace who actually released text messages of another former member. It's a complete mess up there. And the problem is that people like myself, people like Representative Tim Burchett, even members of the Freedom Caucus, even, more moderate members, they're going up there to genuinely serve their communities. But when we have this type of behavior happening, not only does it really prohibit camaraderie within the actual conference and the ability for members to work with one another, but then you also have this issue of the staff that, you have a lot of young people, men and women, that are going up there to serve, and this type of stuff is happening. And so now you're kind of seeing the dam has broken. There was also a story of another member who was allegedly investigated. It was a female personnel member for inappropriate relationship with staff. I think she was in her 70s. So, you know, this stuff, granted, look, not all allegations are real and have backing, but in these instances, there's text messages, there's videos to prove it, and that's part of the problem here is that both parties, instead of asking people to resign, which should be the thing that they should be doing, basically said, well, you shouldn't seek re-election, and that's wrong. You can't conduct yourself in this fashion. It brings discredit on the institution. It's illegal in most work environments, and yet in Congress it's tolerated just like the insider trading. And so I'm not trying to do this for the next 10 years. I'm not trying to do this for the next 20 years. So I frankly don't care if people get ticked off at me for it because I'm tired of serving with these people. And we are up into midterms, and so I plan on putting all these people on the board because I don't think that they deserve to be serving.
Yeah, it seems like this is far from over. Quickly before we go, I want to switch gears. Earlier this week, you took to X saying that just so Americans know, after 2 weeks in recess, John Thune is no longer considering the Save America Act. Has there been a shift there? And is the Save America Act no longer a focus for Senate Republicans?
The Save America Act, to be clear, minus the exception of, I think, Senator Rick Scott, Tuberville, even, Mike Lee, has not been a focus for Senate Republicans. Again, to be clear, we are the party in power and in control. And I just saw reporting that Leader Thune had told his members to stop saying nuke the filibuster and embrace what President Trump is asking for. We have FISA coming up for reauthorization, and they're refusing to put the Save America Act or even voter ID on FISA because they're afraid that the Senate will kill it. So you're telling me that one of the most popular issues in the country right now, this is an 80-20 issue. Democrats want this. Independents want this. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, we all want it. And yet Senate won't do it. And I'm being told, well, the people up here aren't the same as the American people. And I think that's part of the problem is that they forget who they serve. And so, yes, Senator Thune is not doing his job. I think the real question is, will 5 senators come together and say, maybe we deserve different leadership? Because as of right now, it's not going to happen unless there's new leadership in the Senate. And frankly, we are outnumbered in the House. And I think that every person needs to be calling their congressional representatives to see where they stand on this issue. Will they support sticking it on FISA, or will they just simply accept the status quo while we lose our country?
Congresswoman Paulina Luna, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.